want everyone to watch here and learn from what we're going to do here. So what this session is called, it is called a sort of like a flash workshop. And this flash workshop, what we're going to do is we are going to take a project, a business, a thing that we all know, in this case, a podcast. We're going to take a really amazing podcast, and we're going to let the podcast owner tell us all about this podcast. We're going to take this podcast, and we are going to see how can we make it? How can we turn it into something in Web3? How can we take Web3, NFTs, crypto, and everything, and just do that? And no, and what we're going to do, so this is what this is all about. I mean, so we are going to look at this from that perspective. So the first thing, so Tom, do we have the video? So in essence, so Kristi, so actually tell us a little bit about your podcast. And
all right.
So I'm going to wait until the video comes up. We can just tell us a little. Oh, they're going to. Okay, there we are.
Okay, there I am. Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for having us up here. First of all, I wanted to tell you that this has been an incredible learning experience. What you guys have going here is amazing. I was always wondering, how do you incentivize people to care about one another? Because not everybody naturally does this. Mm-hmm. And I think inadvertently, because you all come together and you're naturally doing this and you're creating this social buzz of caring for your community, it's contagious. And you have some answers here that I believe will be just crucial in the mission that I have. And the mission I have is for the souls of humans. I've worked in the industry for 15 years. I've been a child advocate. I've worked in prison ministries. I've worked in jails. I've worked with the homeless. And I know the problems in the community very, very intimately. And I've been working on programs to develop solutions. But first of all, you have to get people aware of the problem. So what I have right now is a weekly podcast. And on this weekly podcast, I bring on people from different spheres of influence that come and talk about why their thing affects the soul of humans. And it might be a holistic doctor, it might be a politician, it might be a faith leader in the community. Because no matter if it's a social impact, the psychological impact, the biological impact, or the spiritual impact, if you miss any one of those spheres, you don't have a real functioning person that can be an overcomer. So that's where I'm looking to take what you are doing and bring it to a whole new level, because trying to get some of these programs into areas, people see you as a threat. They don't like new things coming in. They don't like someone coming in fresh and new at times. It's a captive audience in many centers, many organizations, many faith community organizations. Even, I've been just bridging with the veterans group, and it takes a long time for them to understand, and you have to prove yourself. And that's why, having some time in the space and serving the community is of need, but having something what's in it for them.
So, I mean, you have a podcast, you have maybe 30,000 listeners.
Yeah, about 45,000 a month right now.
45,000 listeners a month, right? Your podcast. You have a book coming out.
I do have a book coming out.
And a book coming out, and the publisher of that book also runs conferences. So the purpose of looking at this particular framework, this particular workshop, is like, how could we, as people who are experts in just looking and seeing how people have monetized and tokenized value, what could someone do with the podcast? How could they bring that podcast into Web3? What could they do? How could they monetize it? So is it anything from looking at an NFT for a membership access or anything like that? So what I wanted to do is kind of go, it's like I call it like a flash workshop, because we're not going to sit up and I got no whiteboard, I got no easel, I'm not going to work through a parking lot, but what I'm going to do is make sure that we can take anybody here, like with an audience and a community they can build around that audience. And what can they do to really build that out? So with that, are there any questions that people have about the podcast to really kind of help them kind of center it, to really figure out like what they could do with it?
Yeah, I have a few questions. If you can give us just a general vibe on the audience and also what they currently do to interact with each other, if anything.
Well, that's part of the issue because I'm on national platforms. I can't tell you how many tune in on Frank's speech because they don't give those the analytics. I can only tell you on Voice America. So to some degree, I don't own my content, they do. So I also want to work around in a community because I have these other 15 years of research. I work with the Amen clinics, and I've taken their research that very few people get into a holistic brain seminar that can change lives, and it has for veterans and people in the detention centers. It's phenomenal. Because as a holistic practitioner, I can tell you that almost everybody, when they find out what I do and I work with the brain, somebody's got brain fog, somebody's got focus issues, somebody's got an elder with onset of dementia, depression, anxiety. It is rampant in almost every family.
Do you have any sort of Facebook group or anything of that nature where people interact on posts with each other?
Yeah, I do have a Facebook group, but I have found that my personal page is what everybody wants to connect to and not so much the group.
So when you look at that, so is there ways to take the so explain to me the relationship with the seminars, the publisher and the seminars. How could that be? Because I'm thinking about an NFT as an access token, a VIP token, or anything like that. So what do you?
Yeah, so I have a life coach that's on with us. So this could be a whole empowerment module for the soul. Between you guys have a great social piece here because you are able to build a positive community when, as all we've seen on TV is the negative communities coming together. You guys actually have done the opposite, and it's a beautiful thing. So what I'm thinking is there's a lot of legacy type platforms, and to be ahead of the curve, I need to figure out how to bring something that could bring a holistic and not just be the holistic brain module, which just about everybody needs, quite honestly. It'll do every single person. It'll be a blessing. But bringing it into a seminar platform so they get empowerment through the life coach experts, they get moving out of the legacy financial systems with learning about things like crypto and making it an empowerment type seminar. Now, what's happened today, I can tell you, is people are on seminar fatigue. They're on seminar fatigue. So you really have to have something that they're going to see, that they're going to connect to. And I believe with all the people that are dealing with mental health issues, because you can put a roof over somebody's head, you can give them food from a food pantry, but if they're mentally tormented, it is a battlefield of the mind and they're in prison every day. Doesn't matter where they're at.
Well, are there other, like you said, it's not just you, there's other counselors and people that are all involved. And so, I mean, connecting that with NFTs of certain different types of subgroups you're talking about with those counselors, because all that can be built into the smart contract and things like that. The timing when they get to speak to these people all the time, and it's all built in for that. I'm just thinking of the different groups you have. You said prison and people are in.
Right. We've had a prison ministry going. We have some ministers.
Right.
But the thing is when you're dealing a lot with the volunteer world, they're not your techie experts.
Well,
So
but I think like we talked about this on the onboarding that that's behind the curtain. The technology is what makes it, what makes it get there. So sometimes I don't worry about I worry about what you want to accomplish, not how you want to accomplish it. You know what I'm getting at from a technology point of view?
yeah.
Oh, was this on the whole time?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
I'm listening to my leg. It's really a matter of During the Industrial Revolution and the combustible engine, we didn't need to know how the engine worked. We just had to learn how to drive the car. So that's the same kind of thing here. It is onboarding, but we just keep it high level. But to what you're doing, it seems like an access issue. Like it's hard to get people to go from having something for free to having to pay for it. So what extra things are you giving them access to, which I think you're speaking to, but
Actually, we haven't charged.
that's what
So
we're looking
part
to
of what
see how
we're
to get it
looking
into Web3.
Yeah, looking at how to monetize it.
Yeah.
And how to get the influencers of circles and spheres of people to understand what's in it for them to let you help their sheep. They all have a captive audience. Whether it's a school, getting into the schools, you got to go through a school board or an administrator. Whether it's a veteran center, you got to go through their people. Everybody has an interest and they want to know what's in it for them to let you come help their people.
Okay, I'm going to step in because I'm salivating. I literally just swallowed so hard. I've been in podcasting for 10 years and now in Web3 for the last year and a half.
Yes.
And I mean, this is where my worlds are colliding in the most beautiful way. And I have been thinking about this for a long time. And, we have DSO, we have DeFi, and we are about to have DPod, okay? Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that we've already had DPod for a while. And this is, in fact, a term I'm coining now. So thank you so much. You can quote me. But we have, in fact, had this for quite a while with apps like Patreon and with different sort of subscription models, right? And so, yes, it might be hard to get people to pay for things. But when you have an engaged podcast audience, okay, all you need is a community of 5K, 10K to spend $5 a month, $10 a month subscribing to your content. And if you're already producing content and you're willing to produce bonus content to give them live Q&As, to give them access to be able to submit questions to your shows, to give them an extra episode a week or an extra episode a month or a special guest, right? You can easily monetize that and create an NFT, which creates a sort of subscription model. Now, if you want to even take that further, okay, you can even create tiers of tokens. You can even create tiers of NFTs where the highest level will grant you access to these seminars, where they'll get you retreat access with some of the best mental health and holistic experts in the game, where you can have, a convention like this specifically for your show, where you're bringing on either past guests or authors or people that resonate with your audience. So I honestly think that converting your audience, especially an audience of 35, 40K for people who aren't in podcasting, that's amazing. Okay, that's actually great numbers right there, especially when you don't even know the other stats, right? So you can easily convert these people, and all you need is a group. You need a core group. And the most important thing, though, and which is why I asked the question before, how is your audience interacting with each other? Yes, they can subscribe to your show. Yes, they can comment on your posts. How are they talking to each other? That is the most important thing when it comes to building community. Sure, they can love what you say. Are they loving what each other says, what they say to each other? That is so crucial. And so being able to create either a subscription model where they buy an NFT and they get the extra content every month, I mean, that's fantastic. But now you've got to create a platform where they can talk to each other, where they get this bonus content, And forget Discord. I'm sorry. I know we love Discord. Wonderful. Everybody loves Discord. You know what? Most people don't love Discord. I hate Discord. Turning on notifications on Discord is so annoying. I turn them off every day. They still pop up. Nobody wants that. You need to figure out a way to be able to get your audience to communicate with each other. I asked about Facebook groups because it's a fantastic avenue for podcasts. Reddit, a fantastic avenue for podcasts. But what would be even better is if you created your own individual platform, which once somebody buys an NFT or a token or whatever it is that you're going to put out there, they get that bonus content. Then they can buy an extra level. They can get maybe 10 NFTs. Oh, you hold 10? You're platinum. Now you get access to our retreats. Oh, you hold 20? Oh, you're diamonds level. You get access to our yearly annual event, right? You get VIP access, whatever it is. But you have to also make sure that whatever platform you create, they're communicating with each other. They need to be communicating with each other. That's how you build community. That's how you build a BHA for your podcast,
Say, there we go.
I think we're done. That's right. Thank you. I'm glad I got to contribute.
I have been thinking about this for a while, you guys. I think about this in my dreams. I'm not even kidding.
But these are the things, like how you connect. It's that community. I think what you're really getting at is community, bringing people together
Right.
to make it happen.
Because when you're part of a national platform, both of my platforms are national platform. So it's their community I'm joining. So there's a benefit to it because when they launched me, I got press releases and all sorts of stuff. And then by the grace of God, he opened doors with national influencers with huge audiences that I've had on my show, and we connected personally. And so now they reoccur on my show. And so when you get those type of names come on and they put it out to their people, you get a city listening at one time. So that has really elevated it. But the issue is that I'm not direct with my audience yet, and I have to try to build a community around that. So that because the end point, the end game is to be able to get the book, which is a holistic restoration model that will benefit life groups. It'll benefit any type of, even Bible studies could do it because it includes a spiritual model in there. So it takes you through using brain chemistry. My background's in physics and chemistry. I have an educational master's. And so it brings you through line by line a holistic restoration through all the sources. So it's not just the podcast, it's getting the book out, it's getting the conferences out, and it's taking what we did in Tampa to a national level with the Hello Brain Zoom models that I wrote with the Amen clinics. Because honestly, that is so crucial for anybody to succeed, is you have to have the basic substances, the basic nutrients, the basic lifestyles to support healthy thinking. And if you don't start there, that's where most of the homeless community has to start.
You're talking about interesting. We in this NFT Web3, we talk about community as if like it's an interchangeable term. But one of the things that you're talking about is taking the output of your energy and helping people who can't afford to buy.
Exactly.
Right. So if you take some of those benefits of maybe the people that would, let's say, engage via your book in a conference versus that audience, and maybe tangentially there, you can use some of those to do exactly what Johnny says, but also take a look at thinking about, I don't know, how to benefit that audience. And so everyone's contributing, so they feel that they're going to help better the world by contributing, and that's something they can hold on to.
Right. So a common thing I hear with people with projects is they want to feed the world and world hunger, right? How do you do that? This is a serious thing, because when I worked in a transitional home, I founded one and had one for 10 years. And there's a food pantry at most of the churches, and Feed America is almost in every town. And how they move food around this country is canned food. Well, what you don't understand is when everybody's eating canned food, because you can't afford to have organic food in your food pantries, you can't move them around the country and you can't store them, right? So then you have people eating food that have no nutrients in it. If they have no nutrients in it, then they can't think right because they can't support their neurotransmitters. So if you had every person, or you had a lot of these churches and Feed America outlets that were educated on holistic restoration, and we could have some support behind it, you would have knowledge of what basic nutrients these people need to supplement with, to even just to think properly, because they can't focus. And you tell people, they get in trouble, then you give them a class because you're gonna teach them how to be a productive citizen. That doesn't work. They can't think, they can't focus, they can't pay attention. It doesn't work. You have to fix, first of all, their brain chemistry so they can sit down and focus and read. You have to deal with the depression so they're not thinking about, their depressing situation, to be able to engage, to move forward. So you have to take a holistic. You can't just say, I'm going to feed them and not make sure they have the nutrients to be able to function.
So what we're hearing is there are ways like to monetize. There are ways through NFTs and other tokens and leveling up, but also instead of just getting access to content, but the ancillary, it's that you're helping other people. So
right, mobilizing a community.
Yeah, you're mobilizing a community so people can feel like they're actually doing something. and they can
Right.
see it materially. And so because what we have in this world of, okay, we're going to open the curtain up, we have this blockchain. It's like, by the way, transparent. People can see where their money is going that they donate. So they can't see it go through layers and layers of bureaucracy. And it's a nonprofit organization. Everybody has their own beef with it, but it is what it is. They're helping people, but you can see all of it, and they can see that they have this direct impact. And if they're a sort of audience that likes this very clean, I want to see the impact of it without any big issue, this really could appeal to that sort of audience. I mean,
Well, I'm thinking too, because that's what I was talking about. You were saying how nutrition, and obviously we know that affects, you know, your thinking and how that's going. But, and you sounded like you absolutely know what's going on here. But dynamic NFTs, something like that, as they're going through this program, right? And they can start seeing what are the issues here. They can start this NFT where maybe it's their nutritional program. It can start uploading all the different things that could work for that person. So they could function properly. I'm just kind of thinking.
so you're like a dynamic NFT that kind of loads either content for people to use or
Right.
content, or they can just see they contributed.
No, that they can use, and they
Okay.
can see. Okay, look, this is the kind of dietary program I'm on. But you wouldn't know that until you start going through these steps, right?
So I like what you're saying. I feel like you can kind of gamify it almost,
Right.
where people can get really into the idea of maybe earning the tokens as they go. You know what I mean? So you have
I
various
want to
programs.
incentivize them to
Yes.
learn.
Exactly. Because you're right. There's a huge barrier to entry when it comes to living life, and it's called getting through our mental health. Right. And so if people can't even break that barrier, then they're never going to be able to participate in all this other wonderful stuff that we're talking about. So if you gamify what you're talking about and you make it exciting, you say, hey, if you go
Right.
through our nutrition program, you earn this token. If you go through our this program, you earn that token. Right. And you can kind of make it really exciting.
I would like to do that. I'd like to gamify it because this is the entertainment is crucial. When you're dealing with people with ADHD and ADD, they can't pay attention. So if you gamify it, they are now engaged. So you can't lecture these people into knowledge. You have to engage them, to entertain them, to learn. So yes, but also incentivizing. And here's the thing, the guy passing out the bread at the food pantry could become an influencer if he's empowered. And if there's a monetization of how to bring him in so that he gets rewarded for helping his brethren.
I can't wait to read your book. And I think you're going to want to read my book. My book is coming out in June, and I think I'm here on this stage because I've helped Ray build up a Be Social TV, which we can convert into a podcast. But my book is going to be called Look Up My KILT and Let's Get Down to Business.
Very saucy.
And- Yeah. So I think someone said it yesterday. The original version of that is KLT, which is almost there. KILT stands for Know, Interact, Like, and Trust. So it's the interaction that's missing, that missing piece. And that's what Ray and I have done on the broadcast that we can do, turn into podcasts. But the interaction that we've gotten out of the community, and not just the real-time interaction from our live shows, but afterwards with the likes and shares and comments that go on. And we're broadcasting on
Wednesdays and Fridays.
Wednesday and Friday, but we're on Facebook. We do Facebook Lives. We do YouTube Live. We have 2 Facebook pages, actually. We're on Twitch, and then we strip that video out, the audio out, and put it into a podcast form, and that goes out. And then I also have to make a quick announcement that we're missing our Swarm podcast creator, Christopher Knight.
Yes.
We lost him last month, but just a shout out to him and all the fans that he has, followers that are here to support us. So I'm missing Christopher. But yeah, to put that interaction part into it, and then engagement is really the most important part, where you connect and then you earn their trust and they like you and interact with you. And that's really the complete package out of that whole thing. So we're talking about gamifying and everything. That's the most important part, I think. And that's where I've helped us the most, feeding you the questions and interacting with the crowd as we try and spread the knowledge.
Going live is a great way to build community because while you're talking, they're talking to each other. I used to do a live recap show of this reality TV show every single Wednesday. And I mean, the community we built was ferocious. It was crazy, but it was incredible. And they would all, wait every single week for the show to finish for them to be able to communicate with each other. One last thing I want to add, because I think it's really important when it comes to podcasting specifically. You can have a podcast that is purely because you want to have the podcast, or a podcast can also be a marketing tool for other ventures that you're going into. For example, right now, your podcast, it seems like, is really going to be a driving force and a marketing tool for your book, right?
Correct.
And so you're trying to convert your podcast listeners into book buyers, right? And book consumers. And so that's something else, listen, I could talk about this for an hour, but it's something to factor in when you're creating your ecosystem of however it is you want to work through this whole Web3 and podcasting. Something else to factor is, what's your actual motivation? Is it to get as many podcast listeners as possible, or is it to convert book customers? Is it to convert people to come to your retreats, to come to your seminars? It's a really important part of the entire piece, and it's totally acceptable to use a podcast as a marketing tool, but you have to remember what your podcast intention is when you're creating this entire system. I have one question for you though as well. You said that you're on a network, you're on a national thing. Are you disseminating your podcast yourself onto Spotify, iTunes, and all of that? Or are you going through these networks and they're the ones who are uploading? Okay, great. We'll talk after.
Yes, you fix that.
Are you like having guests on
Every week.
Every week. So that's where I'm coming from. I tried podcasting once. It's way too much work. I don't know how you guys do it, but when people ask me to go on, I have to look into like what's in this for me. It's a commitment. So I'm just wondering, how are you getting them involved with all of this? Are you going to have them, like offer service, like access to them?
I do. I let them plug their books, their missions, their causes, and then we talk about what their passion is and how it impacts the soul, because the soul really can be impacted by absolutely anything. I have faith leaders on. I actually have 2 national ministries that are looking at connecting with the book launch. So, because the holistic restoration is pertinent for every single soul. So,
Does everybody have a book? Am I the only one that doesn't have a book?
I do not have a book. I have a
Anyone a
diary.
ghostwriter?
I don't
Yeah.
think you guys want to read that though.
What'd you say?
I said I don't have a book, but I have a diary.
Nobody needs to read that.
Nobody
Yeah.
no.
Nobody needs to
No,
read that.
honestly, the voices in my head are so loud. I don't think you want to see them on paper.
I heard them even last night.
All right. So if there are no questions, because this is
I do have a question.
Okay, one more
How would
question.
you gamify a seminar?
Oh, this is fantastic.
Is that
I'm
Unleashed
such-
it.
How would
I'm
you
a gamer.
gamify
I'm a gamer
seminar?
at heart. I don't play video games, but I loved Farmville. And let me just tell you, I was obsessed. And I love competition. I think there's a lot you can do. For example, one thing that we did here that we gamified was networking. We had bracelets that you could go and exchange. That was great, by the way. Whoever came up with that, mwah, I loved it, right? So that was just a really easy way to gamify it. What's the prize? Getting all the bracelets of the same color. It's like we're children. How can that possibly incentivize us when we're here to make actual money? Get all the bracelets of the same color. It's so simple. It's a kindergarten game. You know what I mean? You can think of so many different ways to gamify a seminar, and I'm excited to think about them with you.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's really good. So I want to first say this has been beyond my expectations for the first Flash seminar we've ever done. And I want to thank you for sitting through it. I want to thank this audience, and I want everyone to go to Voice America to listen to this podcast. And we're going to find out how to get the book. We'll make sure in some of the content we can. But I want to thank everyone for coming up here, and I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. And thank you very much.